Recording. Okay. So today I will present a tool that is called QuIRC, which is a drag and drop quantum circuit simulator. So today I will present the basics, and next week, same hour, next Wednesday, same hour, I will present some more advanced circuits, in particular circuits for to illustrate some quantum paradoxes. So this is the outline. I will just give a quick overview of the tool, then go progressively to more complex circuits. First, circuits for single qubits, circuit for pair of qubits, circuit for n qubits. Talk about how to implement classical Boolean function with QuIRC. Talk about also about the specific usage of quantum measurements to have some random classical number generators. And then for today, I hope that I will be able to show some few advanced QuIRC circuits. If not, I will do it next week. And for the quantum paradoxes, it will be next week. So the quick overview of the tool. The tool is available online. So this is this link. So if I switch, first you see that there is this welcome page, and you see that there are some circuits that you can just that are pre-encoded in the website. But if you we will not look at them during this seminar, these reading groups. And if you want to edit, then you can edit the web circuit using this board. But the goal of today's presentation is to explain how to use it. Okay, up. So it is a free open source software. So here you have the GitHub page for this software. It is done by a person, mainly by one person, with some few other contributors. The main contributor and initiator is Craig Gidney, who is, as he defined himself, a software engineer turned to research scientist on quantum computing at Google. But an important note is it is not an official Google product. It is something that is developed personally by Craig Gidney. So I show you with this link the online version that can be used. But what is important to know is it is an HTML page with embedded JavaScript. So when you run it, it runs on your PC. It doesn't make any calls to a website. You can also have an offline version that you can install on your PC, and how to do it, you just need to read to see the README file and the building section in this README file. In terms of size of the program, it is an HTML page with everything embedded inside. Which is not so heavy, less than 1 megabyte on my PC. The main feature is it is a drag and drop quantum circuit simulators. You can simulate up to 16 qubits. There is one line, one wire per qubit. You will see later. The bit weight is from 0 to n-1. It is an error here on my. I will correct it for the next version of the document. It's 0 to n-1. So the upper line corresponds to the least significant qubit, and the lower one corresponds to the most significant qubits. It is important for some gates to know that. Noise is not simulated, so everything is ideal. So all the quantum circuits are ideal without noise. The usual quantum gates are implemented, as you will see, but you also can implement your own quantum gates. And there are different ways to do it, using just rotation in the Bloch sphere for 2x2 matrices, complex matrices, unitary matrices, sorry. a combination of existing gates into a macro gate. It is the second possibility, and the last possibility is just to write the unitary matrices by hand. We will see this later. It can be seen as a complex unitary matrix calculator, but be careful. In quantum mechanics, the quantum states are represented by vectors that are defined up to a phase factor. This implies that the unitary matrices are defined up to a global phase factor also. So you may have matrices that will have the same effect as some vectors just because of this phase factor. That is not important in quantum mechanics because they represent the same quantum state. Now we can go to see how this tool works by starting with qubits. So the qubits can be represented in the on the Bloch sphere, and there is this mapping between the quantum vector in the Hilbert space and the point on the Bloch sphere with this formula. So you see there is an amplitude and phase factor. So usually we use vectors that are normalized. So the rho is normally equal to 1. But one could use, but it is just a convention. One could use a different amplitude factor for the vector. But most importantly, there is a phase factor. This phase factor cannot be eliminated in the vector space because the quantum states are not vector space. They are represented by vector space, by the vector space, by vectors in the Hilbert space. What they are the lines within this vector space. So the projective space, for those who knows that the set of lines in a vector space is a projective space. So what is remaining when we remove the global amplitude factor and phase factor, the first coordinate is without phase. And it is because of the normalization, it's a number between 0 and 1, so it can be written as cosinus of theta divided by 2. Because of the normalization to 1, the other amplitude, the other coordinate is the sinus of theta divided by 2, but there is a dephasing that is possible, which can be written by exponential I5. So this is the general representation of a vector in the Hilbert space. And the theta and phi, which is the three parameters in this representation, correspond to the theta and phi in coordinate in polar coordinates on the three-dimensional space for a point in the unit sphere in this three-dimensional space, which is called the Bloch sphere. So let's just look at what qubit is in the Quirk circuit. So here you see the Quirk circuit so for the one do not take care about this gate, just look at the Bloch sphere. So here I present, so the display, you have 4 displays. You have the Bloch. First I represent the Bloch sphere display here. This when you drag and drop it, you have it. Then you have the amplitude representation. So on a 1 qubit, this is like this. Then you have the chance, the probability of what you can measure on the qubit. And finally, you have the density matrix, but I will not speak too much about it today. So here you see that with this gate, it's a way to produce a pseudo-random qubit on the Bloch sphere. And so here you have the point on the Bloch sphere, and here you have the vector representation in the Hilbert space. The first coordinate is the first square. The second square represents the second coordinates. For the amplitude of each, you have a water level that moves between 0 and 1. So this water level corresponds to the magnitude, the square of which is the square of the amplitude. So when you sum the two, you have something which is equal to 1 because it is the represented vector is a normalized vector to 1. And then you have a circle that is more or less large. So the size of the circle is related to the square root of the magnitude here. And the line represents the line inside the circle represents the phase. So when the phase is, so I will show something differently. When you have 0, when you for some state you for 0 for the qubits that correspond to 0, you have the phase is equal to 0. If you move to 1, then the first coordinate is null, is 0, but the second coordinate is 1. So full circle with phase 0. If you go to the state plus is the sum, the normalized sum of 0 and 1. So here you see that you have the same value, which is 1 square of 1 divided by the square root of 2 in both cases. So you have the phase is again 0 and 0. For minus, you see that here the line moved to the left. This means that the phase is pi, or 190 degrees, corresponding to -1, and divided by square root of 2 with the normalization. So the circle is has the same size like here. Then you have a plus I and minus I corresponding to something on the y-axis here of the block sphere. So for plus I, the dephasing of the second coordinate is 90 degrees, corresponding to I. And for minus I, the dephasing is minus 90 degrees, corresponding to minus I, simply. And when you have something that is random, then you see the dephasing and the amplitude moves in such a way that the sum of the square of the amplitude is equal to 1. Here, for the chain, yeah.
Okay, excuse me, just a question. So for a given qubit, you could always choose by convention to have a phasing equal to 0 for the first coordinates.
No, so the tool decide. Here you see that for the first coordinate, it is not 0.
Okay, yes.
But if you do things after, you will see. I don't know why it does like this. The way it is encoded. Yeah?
Yes.
It fixes the value to 1, to 0
yes.
for the first, and then you have the dephasing.
Okay.
Dephasing. This is just because I did something. It's the way it is implemented. If in some cases it is not fixed, but when you do some additional things after, the tool just fixes the phase to 0.
Okay.
It's a way of it is implemented in the JavaScript code.
And just another question, just to be sure. So the water level and the size of the circle represent essentially the same. I mean, the water level and the area of the circle represent the same.
Honestly, I don't know if it is the area or the ray or the radius. I don't know.
Okay.
It's but you see that it increases or decreases according
yes.
to the value. But what is sure is that the water level is the square root, the square of the complex amplitude.
Okay.
And
yes,
when you sum the two, and you see that for the
it's 1.5 on one side, it's 1.5.
Yeah, you see that for the second one, so it is a 0 or 1, amplitude on 0, amplitude on 1. And here you see that it is the probability to measure 1 in green, and it is the same level as the water level here.
Yes. Okay.
And this I will not talk to this today. It's a bit too complex.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so going on. So in this circuit, so I already represented 0, 1, plus, minus. So you see that plus, minus, plus y, and minus y is simply superposition of 0 or 1 with side plus, minus, plus I, and minus I. It can be seen also as the points on the block sphere on the x-axis, but on the positive or negative coordinates, or y-axis on the positive or negative coordinates. And it is just what I already showed with the previous example, manipulating the input. Here, by moving here, I can switch to the main points in the block sphere, 0, 1, plus, minus, plus I, minus I. And you see the corresponding points on the block sphere, the corresponding coordinates. So you see here everything is fixed. If the first coordinate is 0, then it is fixed on the second one. This is the case for 1. And you see the dephasing here is 0 degree, 180 degree, 90 degree, so it's for I, and minus 90 degree, it is for Y, for minus I. And for the probability of measurement, 0, 1, for 50-50, 50-50, 50-50, 50-50 for the return. Because it is the 4 last states are superposition with the same amplitude for the 0 and 1. Not the same phase, but the same amplitude. Is it clear? Okay, so up. So now I will switch again to this. I will go on with that. So here I just represented some specific qubit, but then one can apply some quantum operator on the qubits that are in the Hilbert space represented by unitary matrices. And I remind you, up to a global phase. So for the qubits, it's a unitary matrices of dimension 2. And they correspond, because the state can be represented by a point in the block sphere. They correspond to rotation on the block sphere. And this is due to the Wigner's theorem that says that any isometry on the projective space, so which is the block sphere in case of dimension 2, can be represented by either unitary matrices and or anti-unitary matrices. No, unitary operators and anti-unitary operators. So unitary operators are unitary matrices, and anti-operators cannot be represented by complex matrices. You have an additional. It is not linear. It is antilinear. You have an additional complex operation that is applied on the state. But the unitary matrices are a specific kind of represent a specific kind of isometry in the block sphere, the one that for which the orientation is preserved also. So the rotation are the isometries with preservation of the orientation of the axis in 2 dimension, and there is a representation by unitary operators in Hilbert space. So now we will look at the rotation corresponding to Z, X, and Y axis. I don't like zoom because it's hide the top of the figure. Okay, and okay. So here I will first start with the rotation according to Y axis. So to rotate according to X axis, sorry, X axis. So you see that if we do not apply anything, 0 is kept to 0. But when we apply a portion of rotation of with some angles, for example, x 1/2 X1 is this gate. So you just can drag and drop the state. X1 is the rotation around x-axis with 90 degrees. X1 is rotation with 45 degrees. Is this one that I applied. We can also apply rotation with other angles. So you don't see x1/3 here, but the way to do it is to just use xft and change the angle with 1/3. So so this is exactly what I applied here. I remove it, and so you see that the angle is rotated with an angle of an angle of what is the angle? 60 degrees. Then you can apply a different value. To apply 3/4, either you can use the same x f the t, but applying the value for the exponent of 3 divided by 4, or you can apply 1/2 and then 1/4 because it is why it is written like this: x to the power x to the power a times x to the power b is equal to x to the power a plus b. Simply, you see that the outcome is the same here. Is it clear? And then, so the plus, the gate which is written by plus is this one, which is also the X gate. When you go through, there are two names for this gate, X or plus, and the X gate is a rotation of 100, like you can see here, 180 degrees around the X axis. And it is represented by the matrix 0, 1, 1, 0, as you can see with the matrix representation. And then you can have also minus x to the power minus 3/4 and so on. And so you see that the angle of so we start with 0, and when we change the angle goes to move the point in the block sphere, move around the circle that is in the xy plane. So one can use there are other gates x to the power t. If you use x of the power t, this make change t from 0 to 1, and you see that the angle. So you see the vector on the block sphere moving around the circle that is within the plane xy. So you see something strange it is written xt plus 1. In fact, there are two ways to make it turn around the circle. Either use this or either use this one with parameter t. But here the tool use another convention t for this t moves from not from 0 to 1 but from -1 to +1. So this is why I write t plus 1. Sorry, for xt it moves from 0 to 2. I made it there. So you see that using this with the specific convention for this gate, or using x to the power t plus 1 with the convention that t is moving from -1 to 1, you get exactly the same move. If I put t here instead of t plus 1, you see that there is a difference of angle. Of course, you can move also faster. You can move twice. So you see that this will move twice faster than this one, and you can go even faster just to check. So you see that the qubit change faster if you change the angle here. You can also move it in the reverse orientation. So it is just the inverse of this matrix, x minus t. And you see that the angle moves in the other position. Here. So it was for the x-axis. For the y-axis, you replace x by y. It's the same, and it does the same, but the difference is that the spin, so the point on the block sphere turns in the circle that is in the XZ plane, the plane that is perpendicular to the y-axis. Note that, so I will use it. If you change, so if you have one, it's as input here, so it turns on the same circle, but with dephasing. But imagine that you have something that is in the x-axis, in the x-axis, then it turns again on the same circle, but with a different angle, minus the same. But what happens if you have a state that is plus I? It doesn't move because the rotation around the y-axis doesn't change the state. But you see, that, yeah. So you see the y-axis. You see that it is the state plus y here. But it does something on the phase, but because the global phase is not important in quantum physics, it is removed, and so it's like if so you see that the quantum state doesn't change on the Bloch sphere. Why I wanted to show you to say that it is because if you look with zero as input and you change by z, x or y by z, so there is other name for z to the power 1/2. It is called s, and z to the power 1/4. It is called t. So yeah. But you can you see that s and t is equivalent to z to the power 3/4. For example, so it just different name, but you see that nothing seems to happen. So if you have one, nothing happen. But if you get plus in all of this, so I will not do on everything. So you see that the point on the Bloch sphere turn around the z-axis. So y for zero for when you have zero, the qubit is on the z-axis, so you do not see anything. But if you have plus or minus, you see something that is turning around the circle that is on the xy plane, which is orthogonal to the z-axis. That is, we can also have rotation on other axis. So this is an example on the z plus x axis. So z plus x axis means the axis that is oriented like the vector 1 with a coordinate 1 on the z axis and 1 on the x axis. So this how can we produce such a gate? You can just say here x plus z and 180 plane. So you see it's not exactly 1, 1, 1 minus 1 as it should be with the H, the Hadamard gate. The Hadamard gate is with 1, 1, 1 minus 1. But this is because of the global phase. If you add a global phase here of 90, then you have 1, 1, 1 minus 1, normalized, of course, normalized to some vector, and the matrix 1. So you can also implement the same gate with by writing the matrix. So if I do not ensure a unitarity, it just tells me that it is not unitary. I should have divided by square root of 2. But there is a way to have an automatic normalization. You ensure unitarity, but it uses some single value decomposition to get something that is unitary. And then you get it automatically normalize the parameters to get this matrix, which is the same as here. And you see it as a rotation vector, as a rotation around the axis xy. So here we see how to implement personal gates using the rotation or using the matrix representation. And then you can create the gate. Here, my gate. We do matrix, and you have my gate. Up. my gate, just do the same. Just do the same as because it is equivalent to this one. Just do the same. If I replace this by this, then I will stop something. Okay, it does exactly the same as this one. Not the same effect. And in fact, this gate is existing in the is already predefined. Is what we call the Hadamard gate, and you see that Hadamard gate is 1, 1, 1, -1 with the right normalization with the division by square root of 2. And you can also see that it is it corresponds to the rotation. The Hadamard gate represents the rotation around x plus z axis with the angle of rotation of 180 degrees. We can have the square root of h also. So this matrix is just the rotation on the same axis x plus z, but by 90 degrees. Why is it the square root of h? It's because if we apply twice, this means that the rotation will be 180, the angle of rotation add, and then you get exactly what the Hadamard gate does. And this is what I represented here. If I apply twice the square root of h, then I obtain exactly the same thing as h. You see the output is the same. So what to say more? This we not talk about this. To inverse unitary matrix represented by the rotation, you just need to put a sign minus on the angle. Then you have the rotation. Then you have the inverse of the rotation. This is just an example here. So here I apply x power of t, y power of t, z power of t, and the inverse, as I already told you before, is you just have a sinus minus applied, and this will give the same when you have some pseudo-random qubit here, you get the same. And how can we obtain this pseudo-random? So this is the gate R of RT, which is made. So I did some gate I made by myself. So this is the application of the gate y of t, power of t, and x power sinus pi of t. So how do I do that? So I say y of t. I will show you how to do it with square, and then x power sinus of pi t. So sinus pi, it is the default function that is given is this one. So and then I want to have a gate that does this. So how do I do that? I use the third possibility here. Just select a part of the circuit I have. So in terms of column, it is the first and second column, and I just want to have the what is. So. Sorry, because this gate is large in the representation, I need to select the 3 first column, and then I need to select the number 5. So it's 5, 5. So I have the circuit, and here I have my gate. And my gate is exactly what does RT. I will show you. If I do that, I have exactly the same thing. I can so because I produce with how can I invert this gate? Just by applying the same gates in the inverse order and with sign minus on the exponent. So this is R prime, which is x to the power minus sinus pi t, and then followed by y to the power minus t. So this is what I do here. So if I apply my gate and the inverse, I recover, so I have something that is pseudo-random, and then I recover the state 0. And so this is what I do here and here, just to check that without having to compare that they move the same way. here and here. Even if here it's not, so here they move in a different way, but I do the inverse, so they move again in the same way. And here I just remove the pseudo-random aspect by inverting the gate that produce this pseudo-random state. So here it's just a way to check that at the end we have something which is always state 0. We get the right inversion in terms of operation. And here I will just show you that I have something that is moving, but if I invert it again, I have 0. So this is a way to inverse and to get some rotation of the qubits for single gates. The way we how to say, we may apply different matrices, different operators on the qubits, but the order is important. There is no commutation, and this is just an example. Here I apply x to the power t and y to the power minus t, and here in the inverse order. No, it's not the right what I wanted to do. Sorry, I will have to change this. So you see that they move in a different way. X, y minus t, and y minus t, x. I will not, that I need to correct this circuit. So you see that the order do not commit. I'm not on a paper that I need to move to change. The circuit. Then we have to close with the qubits. We can measure the qubits. So the only one measurement that is implemented in QUIRK is the measurement on z-axis, and it just change. So when you move, when you do not measure it, so the measurement is the probes measurement gate, and it just transforms the qubit in a bit that is with some probability equal to 1 or 0, and you see that the change in the block sphere representation is that the qubit is the point stay on the z-axis, but it can be inside the ball, not on the sphere, inside the ball, because it is a superposition. It is a mix of state that is 0 or 1 with this given probability. It's not a superposition in terms of inverse space anymore. So you can, so you have only measurement on z-axis, but you can measure on x-axis by some trick. This so here you just apply. So what does the y minus 1/2 gate? It's just a rotation around y-axis with angle minus 90. This means that it moves the plus state towards the 0 state, which is on the z-axis. So by having this rotation and then the measurement, you obtain with probability 0 or 1 if you have x or if you have a plus or minus. But then if you want to change again to go back to the x-axis, what you need to do is to do the inverse operation that the one that you apply here. So what you need to do is something like this. But you see that you cannot, after the measurement, you cannot do it because it is how to say classical state 0 or 1 classical bit. So you cannot do some operation as it is a qubit. One way to do it is just to do a copy of this bit. So you will see very soon that the gate with this gate which is a control node with as input classical bit duplicate the state that we have on top. So you see that you have something that moves exactly the same, but here you have a single line. You have not two parallel lines. This means that it is a qubit, and then you can apply this, and you see then the qubit moving along the x-axis because it is a measurement that you do on the x-axis. So it is a way here. It is a way to measure on the y-axis with the convention that 0 correspond to the x-axis. Sorry, with the convention that plus state is if you have 0, and you measure minus state if you have 1. And to get again the plus axis, you need to duplicate the classical bit to transform it in a qubit with 0 as input here, and then you do the inverse rotation here to produce a state that is something between x with some probability x and other probability y, but it is not a pure state anymore. It is what we call a mixed state because the point moves within the ball. Except for if in some specific case when you reach the point of the sphere, in most of the case you have something which is in between within the ball strictly. You can do the same for the y-axis, but then you just need to replace y by x, and it is exactly the same. Now we can talk about 2 by 2 by an operation about pairs of qubits, so 4 by 4 matrices. So they can be represented by 2 parallel qubits, and the vector basis of the Hilbert space that represent all the possible state of a pair of qubits is the basis 0 to 3, where 0 is 0, 0, 0, 1 is 0, 1 in binary, 2 is 1, 0 in binary, and 3 is 1, 1 in binary. And it is what we call the tensor product between the two states. But you will see the tensor product of these two states is something very simple. It's just the fact that you have, for example, for the 0 tensor product 1, you have 0 on the first qubit and 1 on the second qubit. And here it is so here I use this. So this gate. It is counting gate that move the value from 0, 0 to 0, 1 to 1, 0 to 1, 1 repeatedly on time. So you see that you have 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. No, sorry. So the most significant bit is the lower one. So you have 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1. So the tensor product is something that for qubits that are not entangled is simple. It's just having a qubit in a state on one wire and the other qubit in another state on the other wire. I need to go back. So this is what the basis. So you can have, so what we call separable state is any qubit on one wire and any other qubit in the other wire, on the other wire. And so it is any state in the Cartesian product, not the tensor product, the Cartesian product of the two Hilbert space. And this can be represented with the Bloch sphere representation by this formula. So it's not well written, but I will have to correct this. And this state is not with this representation. We do not have all the states in the tensor product. The tensor product is simply the vector space that is generated by the Cartesian product, meaning that you consider all the possible superposition of this kind of state. It can be seen also as the vector space generated by the vector basis, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. And the entangled state, what we call entangled state, is all the states that can be represented, that cannot be represented by a separable state. And one example is this one. 1 divided by square root of 2, 0, 0 plus 1, 1. And why it cannot be represented by this kind of state? Because if you look at the coordinate for 0, 0 and 1, 1 are non-null, meaning that the product of the cosinus here is non-null, is non-zero, is not equal to 0, and here the product of the sinus is not equal to 0. This means that this any cosinus or any sinus of theta and theta divided by 2 or theta prime divided by 2 cannot be equal to 0, meaning that this coordinate on the other vector of the basis cannot be equal to 0, while here for this state they are equal to 0. So this state cannot be represented by something like this. So we have a strict inclusion. The Cartesian product is included but not equal to the tensor product of the components here, which represent any state for the pairs of qubit. And an intuition to have this is to look at the degree of freedom. We have two real numbers for the degree of freedom which are the angles of the Bloch sphere for the state in dimension 2. For the Cartesian product, this is just the addition, two real parameters for the first qubit, two real parameters for the other one, 4 real numbers. While the degree of freedom for C4, you have 4 for the vector space, you have 4 complex coordinates. But you should remember that the quantum states are lined within this Hilbert space. So you need to remove one complex coordinate, so 4 minus 1, and then multiply by 2 to get the number of real parameters, 3 parameters. So you have 6 real numbers instead of 4. So you have more degree of freedoms for the representation of the quantum vectors of the quantum state in dimension 4 compared to the Cartesian product of 2 Hilbert space of dimension 2. So how to generate state in Quirk? The main gate that should be known is the control NOT gate. So the control NOT gate simply says that if the qubit of the input qubit of the most significant qubit, so the qubit on the left on this representation is 0, you do nothing on the other qubit. So you take 0 or 1. If it is 1, you invert it. So it is the NOT operation. And the matrix can be represented by identity 2 by 2 identity matrix, 2 by 2 0, 2 by 2 0 matrix, and the NOT matrix here. And at the end, you have a 4 by 4 matrix with 1 1 0 0 on the diagonal, and these two instead of and because you have 0 0 here, you need to have normalized vector here. You have 1 and 1 here. So here you have the representation, matrix representation of the NOT gate. So the quantum circuit is just this one. So this gate is control NOT. The fact that the dark small circle is the control point, and it controls this gate, which is NOT. And you see, and here I just wanted to show you. So you just here have all the state from 0 0 to 1 1 with this. And I just wanted here to show that they move in the same way. If we add the matrix 1 1 1 1 here that I talked about before. And here, if I just so you see that here the qubits are very well defined. If you have some pseudo-random qubit at the input, so they are well defined at the input. After the control NOT, you have something. You see that sometimes the point is within the ball, meaning that there is an entanglement between the two qubits. And if you look separately the two qubits, it is written incoherent here, meaning that you have an entanglement between the two qubits. But if you look at the two qubits, so to look the coordinates for the two qubits, you use the same gate here, but on the 2, and you see that you have something that is well defined. If you look at the two qubits at the same times, with the different amplitude coordinates for 0 0 0 1 1 0 and 1 1. And here you look at what you will measure if you do some measurement after on this slide. And if you do some measurements, so how do we measure? We measure this. Of course, this doesn't change, but you see that for the amplitudes, if you so for the block, you see that here you have something that is different from here because you have some measurement here. Is for the CNOT. The CNOT prime is just to reverse the order of the role of the qubits. So instead of having this matrix, it's a matrix like this. For the quantum circuit, it's really simple. You do yes, it's this one. So before we have the control knot is this one. The control knot prime is you just reverse the order of the control is the first qubit, the qubit on the upper line, and the knot is the qubit on the lower line. It's really easy to do. You can control any gates. So if you have any gate U, you can control it, and the matrix is something like this. If the most significant qubit is 0, you do nothing. If the most significant qubit is 1, then you apply the gates that you control. And you can, I will not show you, but you can have many control gates like this. I will just show you without going too much in the detail. You can control H, control Y, control Z, and control anything. I will not go too much for the details for this because time is running. The best state is just the application on the control knot prime on some states that are separable state in 0 and plus, 0 minus, 1 plus, or 1 minus. Here you have the quantum circuit that realize this. So you have plus 0, minus 0, and so on. And you see that you have 0, 0, 1, 1 plus 0, 0, 0, 1, 1 with a minus because of this. Here you have 1, 0, 1, 1, 0 with a plus because of the orientation of the angle here. And with minus 1, you have a 1, you have 0, 1, 1, 0, but with a minus here. And this corresponds to the gate here. There are other ways to do that. Instead of, remember that the H transforms 0 to 0 or 1 to plus and minus. So you have 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1 as input. You are just apply the H gate, and then you get exactly the same gates, the same state, which are the best state. And again, another way to do it. We just start with the first 5 plus state. So 0, 0 plus 1, 1 here. And some rotation. So here you do nothing, identity. So you have the 5 plus. With Z, you get the 5 minus. With X, you get psi plus. And with Y, you get psi minus. And the gate can be applied here or here. The 5 plus is symmetric. So the rotation can be applied on any qubit. I want to speed up a bit. So the quantum measurement, how to measure how can we measure the Bell state? Just by applying the inverse of the gates that we use to produce it. So the way to so what we use is first. So it must be read in this way. What we use, we first have the Hadamard gate, then the CNOT prime. So we just need to reverse. The inverse of the CNOT prime is CNOT prime. And the inverse of H here is H, so this. And in terms of quantum circuit, the inverse is really simple. You just apply the inverse gates in the opposite order because each gates are their own inverse. Then you just it is the same gates, and you see that if you apply this inverse gate here, you recover 0, 0. Here you recover 0, 1. Here you recover 1, 0 and 1, 1. The swap gate I think I'm a bit longer than what I expected, as usual. So the swap gate is the exchange of the qubits of the two qubits on two lines. So it is represented by this this gate, and here is the quantum circuit. So the swap gate is what we do is just we do that and that, and this. So this swap the state of the two gates, and I just implement the gate, the matrix gate, to show that it does exactly the same. So here, what I do, the input, I have two different pseudo-random qubits, and here I invert them, but by inversing the order in the wire to show that it really inverts the input qubits. Here I have exactly the same. Another way to implement here it is to use CNOT in this way, or we can also use it is symmetric for the two ways. You can also use this, and it does exactly the same. So having this or this is exactly the same. And why can we implement the swap gate with CNOT? Because the CNOT gate with the unitary gates on single qubits is a universal set of quantum gates to produce any quantum gates by using them using them together. So you can represent any unitary matrix by using simply gates on single qubits and the CNOT gate. There is a theorem for that. This is something I wrote somewhere, but I didn't explain on the CNOT. Universality of rotation gate plus CNOT is what is here. And what is a quantum program in quantum computing? It is a way to decompose a unitary operator that acts on n qubit into elementary rotation gates and CNOT gates. The difficulty, there are two difficult aspects. The decomposition of the unitary operator in elementary operators is something difficult, and also what is written here, to find interesting unitary operators to compute something that is interesting in an efficient way. I don't know if I can. We started 5 minutes late, so maybe I will just explain very shortly the qubit on the unitary matrix on more qubits. You can generalize the control gate on two qubits on any number of qubits. If you have a gate on n-1 qubits, you can control it. And the control and if the most significant qubit is equal to 0, then you do nothing. If the most significant qubit is 1, then you apply the operator on that you have on n-1 qubit. By repeating this, you can have control gates on many different with many qubits. Some interesting ones are the Toffoli gates, which is a control not gate. So you have the control not gate here, identity of dimension 4 here, and this is this gate in terms of matrix in 8x8 matrices for 3 qubits. I just can show you quickly the operator. This gate is equivalent to this gate. This gate can be decomposed in with control not and unitary matrices on rotation matrices like this. Just to show you that here we find some researchers find a way to decompose these 3x3 unitary gates with only control gates and gates on that represent rotation of single qubits. Fredkin gates is something that's a control swap. We will not talk too much. The GHZ are generalization of the Bell-pair state 5+, and I just can show you quickly how it is done. So on 2 qubits, you have the H, and on with the control not, and on 2 qubits you have the 5+ state, which is the GHZ of order 2. If you add a control node here, you have 000 plus 11. So it is GIZ3. You have a control node here. You have 0000 plus 1111 and so on and so on. And these GIZ gates are interesting. They are, for example, they are used in quantum Byzantine agreements. There is another gate here. I will not the W state, but I will not show it. I'm running out of time. I think I will finish with today with this one. Hadamard gate are for n qubits. It's simply the application of the H gate on each qubits. So it is the tensor product of H. And how do we apply? So tensor product may appear as being something a bit complex to do, but it's really easy to do with Quirk. Here is the example when we apply the tensor product is simply the fact that you apply H on each qubit here. So it is really easy to implement, and we see that what it does, it replaces the state 00000 here by something that is, if we look at all the qubits, by something that is balanced to all the states of the basis of the higher dimensional Hilbert space. Here, for example, 000001. So in decimal 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 15, with the same phase and the same normalization factor, and the same for the other state. The application of the Hadamard gate is something that is used quite often in quantum computing algorithms. The quantum Fourier transform is the version of the classical Fourier transform but applied in quantum. So the matrix is something of this shape. Just to show what it does on the 0 qubits. So the quantum here, I apply the quantum Fourier. The quantum Fourier is something that is already implemented, and you see that on the 0, it does something that is the same as the Hadamard gate, but on other state, it has a different action. So it's something that is it is something that is also used quite a lot in quantum computing. And I think I will stop here. I did not finish. So next time, for the random generator, I will not speak too much about it. It's something that you will see in some example. Maybe I will speak a bit about the classical Boolean function. Or maybe you can look at it by yourself. It's something that is not complex. We can realize the classical function. So classical Boolean function by using quantum gates that are used with inputs that are classical, meaning the state 0, 0, 0, 0, for example, 0, 0, 1, 0, for on 2 bits, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1. So 0 to 3 in decimal notation. There are some realization using Toffoli gate, for example. Here you will have some way to realize this Boolean function. So here you have the NOT, or you simply have the NOT operator. Here you have the control NOT operator to get the XOR. It is equal to 1 if the 2 qubits are not equal here. So it is something that you can check here. To get the AND, you cannot do it with 2 qubits only because the AND operator is not unitary. But using a third qubit as auxiliary qubit, you can have it, and it is just a Toffoli gate. Here, if the 2 are equal to 1, then the output is equal to 1. It is the AND. For the OR, it's about the same, but you have anti-control. So the anti-control control the gate when the bit is equal to 0 instead of 1 compared to the control. And you have anti-control. You have 1 is input, and you can check that you get the OR operation. And for the NAND, it's like the AND, but with input here 1 instead of 0, and you have the NAND classical gate. So because you have the NAND classical gate, you can get any other classical Boolean function by using NAND or classical operator, because the NAND operator is the universal gate for the classical logic. And I will stop here. You can also realize full ladder, but you can just look at it. So next time I will speak about advanced Quirk circuit, some of them, and then some quantum paradoxes. in particular Schrödinger cat and EPR paradox. I finish here for today. Thank you for your attention, and I will be a bit long. Do you have some questions or some remarks on the bridge? No? In the room? It was clear?
Just a small question about the quantum paradoxes, because you said it's next week you will experiment about this. So if it's the same, or will it be different? I mean, should
I will present this. I will use the same document.
Okay.
But I will present. It was planned to present the chapter 8 in my the section 8 in my document. It was planned to present it next week. I hoped that I could present some few things in chapter 7, but I did not have time. So I will present section 7 and 8, but not all of this. Some of this because I will not have time. But I will present some part of section 7 and 8 next time.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to start with the basics first, and then to get something more interesting next. But I knew that I needed 2 sessions to do all the things.
Okay, so I think we can thank Ludovic. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you.
See you.